My name is Gaurav Rastogi, and I'm part of the Hindu Community Institute, which we started about 5 years ago. Um, for 5 years prior to that, we started in the San Francisco Bay Area, and so every week people would gather to talk about the fate of future Hindu generations of all of us in the diaspora. How may we continue to transmit the spiritual heritage and wealth that we have received as our inheritance, and how do we ensure their passage to future generations? And the result of that was the formation of the Hindu Community Institute. And at that time, we had one simple goal, which is let's put the Hindu tradition to work in solving the problems that the society has. Because as we all know, tradition is a use it or lose it proposition. If it's if it has to be gold plated and put into a museum, it's already dead. It's a taxidermied relic of the past, so to speak, right? But that's not I'm mixing metaphors intentionally. The point is, these are all examples of things that are dead. Our tradition is alive and living with us. And for it to be alive and living with our future generations, it must live. It must live in the things that we do and the things that we work on. So, how do we put the Hindu tradition to work? What good is the tradition into our everyday life? And with that, we started the Counselor of Hindu Tradition course. I'll talk to you about a little about this. And our intention was uh, our intention, like all of us here that are gathered today, is Loka Samgraha, right? Which is a bringing about of an improvement in the societies that we live in. How do we improve the society that we live in? What is wrong with the societies that we find ourselves in now that we're here in the West? And so we spent a lot of time thinking about this problem. And the problem that we've decided to solve is that of a breakdown in the basic framework of society. But before I tell you about that, I should tell you what is spiritual care. So, so Hindu spiritual care is something that we have as a community neglected for far too long, not just here in the US, but in every diaspora country. Spiritual care, what is spiritual care? It is being there for people. It is being there for people in their time of need, whether it's extreme happiness or extreme unhappiness. At hospitals, doctors spend not much time talking to patients and their families. No one talks to the families, but patients and families are in critical care of spiritual care support, critical need of spiritual care support. At university campuses, when students go, there are 600,000 students, Hindu students, in about 200 campuses, and they get no support. If they need to talk to someone about their identity or about their religious practices or just about being targeted for who they are, there's not much people to talk to. There's not many people they can talk to. But not just that, we have lots of temples, but even at the temples, we do not offer spiritual care support. And this is where we are far behind our friends from the Abrahamic communities. And that's what is a big critical gap. When someone dies in the family, this I have been told amazingly by temple presidents and chairmen and founders repeatedly. This is this particular sentiment. We did not get any support when my parent expired. It was almost like we were orphaned twice. Once because a parent had died, and two, the entire society evaporated. Who do we call? What help do we need? What do we need to do? These questions were left unanswered. You call the temple line, no support. And the question is, why should a society that is so materially affluent be so spiritually poor and negligent in the care of our community? And that's the problem that we want to solve. Now, let me go back to the issue of Loka Samgraha. What do we mean by Dharma itself? Today's topic is Know Your Dharma. What is Dharma? Is Dharma just a set of rules or belief systems? That's a credo. And that credos work for the Jewish and Christian and Islamic traditions because they have a foundational belief without which you're not allowed into their society, right? The Kalma, for example. We don't have that sort of thing. Hindu Dharma itself, Dharma is the basic foundation of society, that which brings everyone together. 16 or 17 or 16 days after the Bhagavad Gita was recited, narrated at the Mahabharata, right, at the war, on day 17 of the battle, Sri Krishna and Arjuna have another conversation. Arjuna this time is angry at his brother for some reason. He is about to do something ridiculous, and he gets a talking to from Sri Krishna. And in that talking to, Sri Krishna lays out the definition for dharma. And I'm coming to that because I'm describing to you your own drive for lokasamgraha. All of us have it. Dharana dharma ityahu dharmo dharayati praja yad syad dharana samyukta sa dharma iti nishchaya. Dharma sustains the society, it maintains the social order, it ensures the well-being and progress of humanity, right? That is dharma. Dharma is that which creates thriving and vibrant societies. And the question is, are our materialist Western societies thriving? And the answer is no. These societies are not thriving. You might ask me why. This seems quite contrary to what we see. We have roads, internet, and such amazing educational institutions. But no, look at the people. Look at the people and talk to the people. You see the steep rise in loneliness. You see the sharp breakdown in church going. You see the rise of nuns. There's a Pew research that goes out. I have slides somewhere. There is a breakdown of society. People no longer connect to each other. Thanks to the technology and thanks to what's happening on the way societies are working, these are broken societies. And because these are broken societies, we have a problem that we no longer are available to each other. And that means that our individual experiences are very harsh. If previously, if I had a problem at work, I would have friends that I could talk to. Or if I go to church on Sundays, I could go to the church and talk to them. Who do I talk to now? I have a parent that needs help, and I need to ask for advice on how to handle my own self. Who do I talk to? And in these societies, in the West, we have come here from India, in India, when I grew up, you could walk into your friend's house anytime. But now you have to call ahead even within a family and say, I'm coming, can I come? Right? We have seen a breakdown of the fabric of society. And that is actually the opposite of dharma. Because it is no longer sustaining us. We are no longer thriving. So if you see all the trend lines, loneliness is rising. Lifestyle diseases as a result of this loneliness are rising. Kavita ji, are you saying something or you're just on mute? All right.
Sorry, I just joined. Sorry.
Welcome, and sure. So if you see the rise of loneliness, you see the amount of burnout, even amongst the medical fraternity, right? The amount of burnout that doctors experience is through the roof. And so clearly, professionals are not happy. Rise of loneliness amongst adults and children is rising. The going to churches and communities is falling. And essentially, there is an increase in strife and tribalism online. We are being trained into outrage. This is a breakdown of the social fabric. How are we going to reconnect the society together? That's the challenge that we have. And that's where the Hindu Community Institute decided that we must contribute to rebuilding our society, reconnecting all of us to each other. And what might be the way to reconnect? By being present for each other, by being available to each other just as members of the extended family. And this is doable. It's doable because those are societies, every society does this, except in modern Western societies. And so it can be done, but it needs to start from the individual. So what we started was a course to help people learn to serve using the knowledge available in the Hindu tradition. And I'll describe that in a few minutes. But essentially, each of us now acts as a beacon of support to everyone in the community, not just the Hindus. We apply everything that we have learned as a Hindu community, civilization over thousands of years, but make it available to everyone as volunteers and as chaplains. And chaplains, and you might chafe at the use of the word chaplain, that sounds very Christian. And I've heard this in the past. But the word chaplain itself, the Muslims have adopted it, the Jewish people have adopted it, the Buddhist people have adopted it. We're the only community that hasn't adopted it. And that's the reason we're saying it has become secular in the sense that it's no longer the exclusive domain of Christianity. It's a job description like an engineer or a computer scientist or a doctor. And so we train people to be Hindu interreligious chaplains. And just 2 weeks ago, actually 10 days ago, the first Hindu interreligious chaplain graduated from Berkeley. They went through our program, and that's the curriculum that we've set up. All right. Now, I'm going to pause here for a couple of minutes to see if there is any input or reaction. Then I have a few more things to say. But any input, reaction, questions, please feel free to ask now or put them into the chat, and I can try to address those as well.
I mean, as a physician, I can say this is really a burning need, not only when the person is dead, but also when they are in the hospital, where there is a big lack of support and there is no communication at all. The society support, unless you have friends who can support you, you are on your own there. I
Yes.
starkly remember 30 years ago, an elderly Indian lady was in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and it was pitiful that the food and the support and the communication. So very much needed in modern days.
Thank you, Dr. Parekh. In fact, one of the stories that stuck with me was I was describing what we do to a friend, and he told me the following. He said, Gaurav, my father was given a 50-50 diagnosis that, there's an operation he needs to get done, and chances are 50% he may not even come out of the operating theater, and the other 50 is he'll come back alive. And he says, look, I drove from here to the hospital about 40 minutes to an hour, and neither of us spoke. It was the longest 1 hour of my life. Because how do you begin this conversation? Papa, is there something you need to say? You can't say it. None of us can say it. So his heart is heavy. His father's heart is heavy. His father's doing fine now. But that's the thing. If there was someone trained, they could have this conversation, break the ice. And imagine if it didn't turn out that well for my friend and his father. Then wouldn't this guilt sit in his heart for the rest of his life that maybe I should have asked my father if he had something to say?
Another thing I would put from physician perspective, when I had dealt patients who were really sick in the hospital with either a major complication from our side as a physician, or patient was just so sick that we could have lost him, the chaplain was almost always there for American patients when I would have a serious discussion with the family. And I think it makes a big difference because of that third party who is always there in the hospital. We also go an extra inch out of, we take care of all patients, but it makes a difference. So that third independent party could really help. And then when I am left, I'm sure he discusses with the family what are their wishes and how his whatever input of a third person can come. So even from that perspective, there is a big role.
Huge, huge. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Parekh. And that is the challenge, that we Hindus have not evolved this system, which is what we're doing now, and which is what I'm describing to you. We are far behind, left far behind in this. So let me actually describe this to you. If you see what's happening is there's a missing Hindu chaplain in the United States. There are now 80% of all the chaplains are Christian, because that's where chaplaincy comes from. But 20% are Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist. They have 20 years of head start over us. But Hindu chaplains, there are no, you can't even count on one hand. And that's the problem, which is there is a missing Hindu chaplain. We are seen as affluent doctors and engineers, but chaplains, we don't see ourselves there. While ironically, we are the one tradition that is naturally suited for interreligious chaplaincy. The chaplain's job is not to connect you to Jesus or talk to God. Those are not the things that a hospital chaplain's job is. They cannot proselytize. They have to just be there and offer bedside support. Guess which religion is designed for this sort of connectivity? It's the Hindu tradition. We're not trying to proselytize. We're simply saying, let me ease your burden. Let me be there for you. Let me listen to you. Right? But we are missing from this field. And that's the problem that we need to solve.
So, one small point. the interreligious is a new interpolation there, or it's yours, or it's because the chaplains at Duke, for example, we have chaplains at Duke, and each one is from their denomination or their religion.
Yes, good, great question. So far the supply of chaplains is from theological programs. So people that come in from their own seminaries and go on. Even a Hindu, if they need to be a chaplain, would need to go to a theological Christian or whatever program and come out as a chaplain on the other side. And the problem with that is the framework, the foundational philosophical framework of Christianity are very different from Hinduism. Interreligious chaplaincy is actually a relatively new term. The Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley has created a new program. It's actually run by a Muslim founder, I mean, the original director. And it's designed for interreligious chaplaincy. There are several other programs that are doing the same. A lot of the intake into these programs, whether it's spiritual care or chaplaincy, now happens to be post-Christian people that may have been Christian, but they are also doing Buddhism, they're also doing other things, and now they want to explore their spirituality. So the more natural, this is new, but it's quite becoming more and more popular now. At the graduation, I was there 10 days ago. There were Muslim people graduating. There were, I mean, of course, the Hindu chaplain also graduating. And then, of course, Christians are, of course, always there because that's who this population has more of. So yeah, interreligious is a relatively new term, but I think that's going to be the dominant term because now if you look at corporate chaplaincy, you look at hospital or university, you want people that are caring for the spiritual but not religious category, people that are here for everyone and not just their denomination.
I suspect hospitals require more of that than universities. Universities will have more theologically oriented chaplains.
Yeah, but universities are now hiring Hindu chaplains, of course.
Yeah.
So they're saying that I need a Hindu chaplain, and they can care for everyone, but I want it for my Hindu students. Yeah, I agree. All right. So that's the missing gap. Now, what a chaplain does in general is handle issues on identity, handle issues of finding meaning and richness in the tradition. A lot of questions that people come, the life's compass, where is life going? What are my priorities and the conflicts one faces and so on. Chaplains can also talk about body, mind, and spiritual practices. And like Dr. Parekh was saying, caring for caregivers and spiritual providers as well. So if, for example, if someone's the primary caregiver for their parent, they're experiencing burnout, and then they need spiritual care as well. So that's what the spiritual care and chaplaincy practitioners do in all these communities. Now, let me describe to you once again. So what's going on is, sorry, I'm going to move to this side. What's going on now is that we have to catch up in our institutional framework, which is where we are reaching out to temples, we're reaching out to hospitals and universities. The Hindus have been missing from this for a very structural reason. And let me describe that structural reason to you. 1 second. Oh, sorry, wrong slide. Okay, here. The people that go to their religious institution on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, so the Islamic people, the Jewish people, and the Christian people, they tend to have a community bubble that they live under. Let me talk about that for just one more minute. When I do interfaith talks and they ask me which temple I go to, my answer is the exact same as anyone on this call is, which is I go to every temple, right? But that's not how a Christian or a Mormon or a Jewish person thinks. They go to a specific temple or a mosque or a church. And that's where they belong because their entire community bubble sits there. Those are the people you hang out with. Those are the people, if they excommunicate you, then you have no friends in the community. The same Friday, Saturday, or Sunday gathering is also the source for 4 different needs that we might have. The need to conduct prayers, the need to listen to what the scripture says in the form of sermons, the need for private, confidential, or confessional type activity, and the need to minister after people's spiritual cares. This is what typically a Christian framework is, and that's what modern society is used to. This is also the context in which chaplaincy comes out, because chaplaincy is outside of so most of these two items, ministering and confidential stuff, you go out into the field and you're a chaplain and so on. And if they come to the church, then they're here for the prayers and sermons on Sunday. That's how the Western society is built. The Hindu society is not built in this framework. I've already talked about this, but we don't have a community bubble that sits around a temple. Our organization is very different. We live in this community ocean. Let me just move this thing around. Move my image around.
If I may add on your previous slide, which you made, I would add one more of the 4 points that you made.
Yes.
That's the gathering over the weekend. From physician point of view, what I see most of the patients would tell when they're admitted in the hospital, that church support is so much that each person has a 4 to 6 people's group or families group assigned to it. So they would come and deliver the food at home. They will do the yard cleaning if necessary. Whatever is needed for the home, he would be covered. So the community support, and I think it's a major reason why they go to the same temple again and again.
Yes, it is the center of their entire being, and it's a very important and powerful thing. And people feel enclosed and protected in that. You're right, Dr. Parekh. And the problem is, Hindus, where we come from, we don't organize our society around the weekend club, right? So we live in this community ocean. Everyone's our relative. Everyone's in our business, right? So if we need to do prayers, we may or may not go to the temple. Everyone, like Dr. Trivedi, there's an altar in every home. So we don't have a problem doing that, right? And if we need to watch sermons, we can go to a Shastri and they can describe to us the Shastras. For confidential conversations, you can go to your neighboring uncle, auntie, astrologer, and so on. And for ministering, you want some guru to give you advice, you can go to a guru. The Hindu society is completely different. You see the two, and you see that there's no overlap, right? Here, everything is organized around one building or one institution. We are not organized that way. This works when we were in India, where the religion is in the air, the society is all around us. But now that we're here, we find ourselves completely unsupported. The temple does not offer these services, right? And now we have these problems that we don't know how to form a community association.
So
what that leads to,
while it applies to 80-90% of Hindu society, keep in mind the Swaminarayan and some of the subgroups like Sai Baba, etc., they have a very cohesive network which supports each other. And we could take the examples from them to be able to do better in that sense.
Yeah. So there are some groups, there are some sampradayas that are amazing sanghas, and those are great role models for us. And in fact, you're right. The point is that, look, if we do exactly what we think what was happening in India, then it will not work for us. We need to find ways of creating this sangha. And that's what the HCI project is as well. So what this is leading to is, of course, high degree of loneliness and high degree of health impact. It's just crazy how much health impact this has had, where from sleep disorder to weight management issues to drug use, all sorts of things are coming up increasingly as a result of this breakdown in society. What we are seeing, and I'm concluding this logical stream over here, is that there's a coming together. The Christian society is breaking up. People are no longer going to the churches as much. If you see the Pew Research, the number of people has now become a minority, right? So the organized society is breaking down. We have come from a self-organized society on the right, and that too is not available here. What we think is happening is somewhere in the middle. We call it DIY spirituality, and you'll meet there people all the time that are spiritual but not religious. Essentially, people are building personal rituals. They're going to YouTube to listen to their talks, and they're going to life therapists and coaches and astrologers or whatever for their, venting that they need to have. And there is a need for spiritual care and chaplaincy that needs to be serviced, which is what we are building. So that's the broad project that we're working on, that it's not just for the Hindus, but we think it's important for our societies to have a working model, because as you can see, the church model is breaking down. The temple model itself does not work. So my outreach to the temples is simply, look, temples need to start outbound spiritual care. You need to have a phone line where people can call you. You need to educate people on advanced healthcare directive. You need to have a phone line for death and memorial issues. You need to have a phone line for pre-marriage counseling. Right? These are things that people need all the time. And the temples are the natural places for people to call. You need to start these services. And so we're doing what we can to formalize them and make these available in a way that every temple can replicate. We're happy to do, if you are associated with temples, we're happy to do webinars for your community on any of these topics: advanced healthcare directive, pre-marriage counseling, last rites. We have very structured documentation and processes we've created.
Okay, Guruji, I know many universities have chaplains, some hospitals have chaplains, but are there any examples of chaplains at temples?
Not that we know of. Temples have not yet started offering temple chaplaincy, which is something that we're keen to promote. Now, you may not call it a chaplain because you might think it'll be a Christian thing. You can call it a sathi. You can call it a spiritual care counselor.
Sure.
Right? But it is extremely important because, again, neither side is working. Neither the Indian model, Hindu model is working because we're no longer in India. Neither is the Western model working because no one's going to the churches. This model in the middle is what we need to have. And the temples need to take charge of solving the spiritual care needs in the community. Because it's essential. This is how, otherwise there's no loka samkra. You may be materially affluent, but in the heart is not happy, right? And then there's no shanti in that because there's no sense of comfort in that sort of experience. So that's what we do. So when we teach our program, I'll give you a very 2-minute version of this. Essentially, if you live alone, you live your entire life alone in this state of loneliness. And what happens is the entire drama of life, you live alone. Disputes, aging, career choices, bereavement, everything. You have no one to talk to. It's a terrible state of being because all the entire burden of heavy heart and sadness is on us. Okay, now.
Hey, little bro, I went to touch pee-pee.
Gaji, can you please mute yourself?
Yeah. All right. Okay. Now, the Hindu tradition, on the other hand, Rich, we are not designed. Our tradition is a highly celebratory, very sensitive to stages of life and stages of your calendar, right? And all built around support and sharing. This is the life in the rich Hindu tradition. What we need to do is mix these two, which is offer support for the entire spectrum of life, from before birth to long after death, and therefore reconnect each other to us. So when we train people and counselor of Hindu tradition, we are saying we are here as members of the extended family to everyone in the community. You can talk to us in confidence. We're not here to solve your problems. We're here to be there for you. We're here to give you advice if you ask for it. And that allows everyone to feel comfortable in the societies that we live in. And that's the project that we've been on. So we have 2 programs. They are essentially offshoots of each other. I'll just describe what this is. One is the Counselor of Hindu Tradition course, which is a 9-month, 24-session course. And the one alternative is the Hindu chaplaincy pathway, where you come to HCI and for 3 months, I think 4 months, you do this Hindu chaplaincy pathway course with us. And then we send you to GTU to finish out your interreligious chaplaincy pathway, right?
GTU stands for?
Graduate Theological Union. I'll show you the university once again. So GTU is actually one of the foremost theological programs that are non-religious. Most theological programs are, of course, religious, Christian or Jewish, but this one is a gathering, basically 35 or 40 institutes got together to create something that is across an individual religion. And they have started an interreligious chaplaincy program, which partners with us. So essentially it works with us, and we send them students into that program. So so that's the second pathway that I was describing, which is,
And is there a separation of these three types of chaplaincies, temple versus hospital versus college, or it's all combined?
It's combined. Right now, it's taught as one thing, and temple chaplaincy is an idea in its infancy. Hospital chaplaincy is the most developed because they've been around for the longest. University chaplaincy is relatively newer and is being taught now. And then, of course, we are keen to work with temples to start temple spiritual care or chaplaincy.
Now, there are other places. I heard that Chinmaya Mission also runs a chaplaincy program. And
they ran it for 1 year, and then they took a break, and they're going to start again, I think, next year with the institute in India, with the Chinmaya program in India. Yeah.
And is there any chance of working together?
We are happy to work. We've offered to work with them. Yeah.
HUA was also thinking about it, or is thinking about it?
I believe they were thinking about it and are thinking about it. I don't know where they are in their program right now.
Now, can you plan to tell us more about what is covered in this?
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to talk you through that. One second. One second. Let me find that. Over here.
While you pull it out, if I may put a few lines, that I think at the base of the whole problem is that there is total lack of connectivity for people at large at the temple levels. While say me and Dr. Trivedi and Arvind Bhai, some of the people know each other. Many of the people even don't know who are the members of Hindu society. So unless there is an ongoing every week or every other week gathering the way the churches have it, it's impossible to have that comradeship among the temple. It would make it almost all other tasks so much easier, and somehow I don't think anywhere in the nation, except for say Bal Vihar, etc., are running. Other than that, for adults, the way Swaminarayan has it, there is no connectivity, there is no communication possible at the temple level. People get together for Garba or for visiting Guru, but not an ongoing basis. So unless that structure is there, it's almost impossible to move further. But yes, chaplains can be provided, and hopefully people will come to know that they are available.
Yeah. I agree. I think we need to be better organized as a temple community as well. All right. I wanted to give you a sense of how we teach. Let me talk to you about the topics first. We cover topics. Hindu wisdom and tradition is about 40 to 50% of our courseware. And here we cover a wide range of things. It's based on the Bhagavad Gita. And so the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita as applied to spiritual care. We teach essential counseling skills, which is case management, counseling, confidentiality, and so on. And then specialty knowledge related to geriatrics or aging or healthcare directives or issues with children and so on. And then we call experts to come teach these things. So I wanted to give you a sampling of who comes and teaches our programs. These are people that are, for example, Dr. Feldstein is actually a medical doctor who used to teach, to practice at Stanford, and then chose to become a Jewish chaplain. And so he comes in and talks to us about compassionate care. He's a good friend of ours. Then we have, of course, Jarina ji talking about palliative care. Then we have, I'll give you another fun example. We have, where is Dr. Maha? So Dr. Maha is the head of emergency care at Stanford. So where is he now? Dr. Maha is somewhere in here. Dr. V. Mahadevan, if you see him, he's in here somewhere. I can't, anyway. So he comes and teaches what happens in an emergency room. how to help families in an emergency room situation, because it's a very stressful time, and he comes and teaches that. So we teach all these topics that you're seeing over here. And of course, we call people for distinguished lectures as well, and those are always very well received, and so on. It's not only Hindu content, we call interfaith speakers as well. So we call people from other religions to hear what they're doing and how they're handling it, and so on. So that's the range of topics that we cover and the speakers that we bring in.
And how many students do you have?
Okay. So every year, it's about between 50 to 100 students. This is our 5th year. Now we are beginning to start our outreach for the 6th year. We have students in now 8 countries. So the US, and this is all online and global. So we have US, of course, is large, but Australia is large. South Africa is large. And then we have smaller contingents in other countries as well. South Africa, for example, is quite interesting to us because we have 15 scholars there. And these are 6th generation Hindus. They're Mahatma Gandhi generation, right? Because people from 1800s, they're still Hindu, very proud and very happy to learn together with all of us. And we learn so much from them because the way they experience issues are very different from the issues we have. And that's the cohort. Australia is a very large cohort for us as well.
And this GTU is also online?
GTU is online as well, yes. Yeah.
I see. So the whole thing is online.
The whole thing is online. So the way it's taught is we changed our pedagogy last year. It used to be 250 hours of a lot of contact. Now what we do is every session, there's 4 hours of material that we send to you beforehand. And then we ask you to discuss with your group and come to a live discussion. And what it does is then you're able to watch it on your own time, discuss it with your own regional groups. So you have someone in your own time zone to discuss with. And then you come to a global discussion where we might have more back and forth. So we found that actually quite effective in creating a sort of, low fuss but high engagement model.
Now, the other major issue would be that at least in the chaplains that at the universities, there is perhaps almost no pay or sometimes very, very low pay. So how this cannot be the full time, or is it? You think it's going to be full time vocation for them?
Some universities pay for their chaplains, but many are happy not to pay if not required to. Right? Some do pay.
But it's minimal. Now, say Duke, originally we had to collect ourselves. Now Duke has agreed to pay, but it's a very minimal amount.
Yeah. So for that, what we're saying is, if you're already at a university and you want to do these, things because you feel for your tradition and all the children that come there, then we will help you get the credentials. You come to us and we'll send you to GTU. We've so far had funding available, partial funding, so you don't have to spend a lot of money in getting these credentials. And then you can offer these services at the university. So that's the program that we're running.
But the hospitals, do they pay?
They do pay. Yeah, hospitals do pay, and it can be a reasonably good employment. Now, it doesn't pay, if you have a tech or a medical job, then, those are very highly paid jobs. This is not a very highly paid job, but it could be a great second career, third career, because essentially, you don't need to make money because you've saved enough, but now you're getting your everyday expenses taken care of.
So
more importantly, yeah.
So the profile of the students is what kind of profile then?
The median age is typically 45 to 65. It's typically older adults. We do have younger people, we do have older people, but that's the median age. The profile is skewing more female now, about 2/3 women and 1/3 men. We began with 50-50, and now for some reason more women are coming to the course, and that's a good thing. But we're trying to also recruit more men so that we continue to have balance in this world.
At least in the university setting, my feeling is that women are preferred. They want a mom on campus or something.
Yeah.
If I may, my feeling is wherever there is a thriving community, yes, in Raleigh or Stanford, I think it's a temple's, I wouldn't say obligation, but it is a all the temple members' prerogative and sort of a right, if they are connected to the temple, that the temple should support such chaplaincy available in one or the other way. So some support from them would make it easier for somebody to be functional as a chaplain, which may be a voluntary or a full-time job. Until we get a Hindu chaplain in all the places where we need it, what we could do is your organization or a chaplains which are there, suppose in North Carolina there is a Charlotte has one chaplain, all these hospitals nowadays have an online Zoom possibility. So if I need to speak to a family member, so for translation, we do it all the time. So if you're admitted in the hospital and you speak Telugu and I need to communicate, the nurse in few minutes would get a computer and a Telugu speaking person comes online and we can communicate. So it's very easy for us to do. So the same way chaplains are available online, then all the problems in the hospitals sort of to some extent are solved, not 100% sizable, they can be helped. At least they can communicate if they cannot hold the hand there. So this may be worth very easy to start with till every town and every hospital has some, which is going to be difficult if you ask me.
Yeah, actually, Dr. Parekh, this is a great, I mean, offline, I can reach out to you. We have volunteers. We work on what we call Om dollars. We actually have a whole system to track volunteer output because it helps people keep track of their work. So we have volunteers that are trained to be spiritual care counselors and chaplains. If your hospital, and we can start with your hospital, but we can offer phone support.
Well, this is great there, because keep in mind that in majority of the hospitals, the number of Indian patients are not large. Say in Raleigh, there's a subdivision of Raleigh called Kerry, where there might be 20 patients at a time Indian, but in one of the another hospital, in the whole hospital, there may be 2 patients. So it may not be time cost effective for a full-time chaplain to be there, and out of 10 patients, 2 need it. Not every patient needs a chaplain there, right? Only very sick patients or somebody who has a difficulty. Majority don't need it. Those who have multiple family members, they don't need the probably additional help there. So this could be a very easy way to jumpstart it. Let me we will be in touch with each other. I'll talk to the local CEO of the local hospital and see if this is a possibility that will solve a lot of problems.
That'd be great. And we have, because we're designing it for this use, so case management, HIPAA compliance, all of those things, we are going to be fine on.
So do you call it e-chaplain?
Maybe we should.
It is a much needed, though. I cannot underestimate that this would be very relevant. It would be very relevant, and hopefully this chaplain, say suppose he's sitting in your town, he would have a connection with somebody in Raleigh. So he can pick up a phone and reach Kishoji or somebody, a temple representative, and that would be very easy to develop over a time, that he has some communication that can complete the circle there.
Yes. And we've built up a system for case management and call management that we pick up a call and then we have experts that they're all connected to at the back end. And then that way we don't have to run around.
And the nationwide, if there's a 1-800 number, 1-800 Hindu chaplain, that solves the problems, and then your team can route and provide and see what is possible.
So we have a roaming number that does that, just that. We haven't publicized it, but we can work with you and make it happen.
So there is Gauravji, there is this Hindu Mandir Executive Conference that will take place in our temple in September, and we will have I think a session on this topic or something related, and if you can come there, it will be very good.
Yes, sure,
September 29, 30, October 1, 3 days is this Hindu Mandir Executive Conference. It takes place once a year. Are you aware of that one?
I'm aware of HMBC, yes, but not this event,
So this year it's going to be here in our temple.
The leader Tejal Shah joined our group, HSV group, today only. Her name is Tejal Shah. Another thing is, a few weeks ago in our group, if you see somebody posted, a young girl from Maryland, she prepared a training course for the hospitals and how to handle people from Indian background, and that was very nice. If you need to incorporate,
it was very well done. I thought it was fantastic.
Yes.
We interrupted many times. You have more things to say before we ask for any questions from others?
No, I can go on for a long time, but I'm happy to take questions.
But are there any questions? I'm sorry, go ahead.
So there are 2 things. One is, if you're interested or people that would be interested, send them to do this course, either the Counselor of Hindu Tradition or the Hindu interreligious chaplaincy. That's going to be one thing. The other is with temples, what our request is really twofold. One, you should consider starting temple chaplaincy services or temple spiritual care services. We will work with you to make that happen. And two, you should create a corpus to fund some people from the community to become Hindu chaplains. People that want to volunteer, you can create a corpus, $5,000-$10,000 per person, so that they can go through this program, and then they can serve in the local community for spiritual care. This is going to be essential because, Hindus going to temples is our generation. Maybe our kids will go, but 3, 5, 10, 30 generations out, we need to find better ways to connect with the community. And this spiritual care is just that. And it'll be an important survival thing for us.
Gaurav, in the chat, if you can put your website and so that people and phone number, whatever you want to read, that would be helpful to the people who are, since it's being recorded.
Sure. Yeah, the website is hinduci.org, and I will type that in here.
Yes,
And I'll show you the website 1 second so that you can
I
see
can
it.
type it in that one.
Yeah.
Hindu CI, you said?
hinduci.org. So Hindu Community Institute.org.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
phone number is not needed, probably it will be there.
Yeah, phone. Yeah. And then if you go to our courses, this is where the courses are. You can go here and the courses are listed here. This is, of course, my video. These are the 2 courses that we have. It's everything is on the website. We also offer free yoga classes from day 1 of the pandemic. We've been running yoga classes all week, and they've been running for 3 years now. So those are also there. And then if you actually want last rites guidance, you can actually, there is a phone number here. You can call anywhere, you can call and then we'll respond.
415-980.
The
1414.
number is for what? Each chaplain, is that?
Yeah,
number?
each chaplain. Yeah. So typically these are the issues that we respond to. Last rites, we get a lot of calls. People want to know what is the process. We actually have a whole video. Also for pre-marriage counseling, we have a whole video. I'll just show you the getting married thing, for example. There's a whole video around what are the conversations you should have, and what are the considerations in an interfaith wedding. So Dilip Aminji and then Punitji from our place, we've all got together to create this. This is an essential service to have at any temple, and these are all downloadable. The last rites things are also downloadable. This institute, because HCI was started by engineers, we think in engineering terms. So we have a whole flow chart, because that's how engineers think. Hindu last rites, here's what you need to do. Here's a downloadable document. Sorry, the document is right here. Here's a checklist of things to do and places to go. And if you call us, we can tell you, which funeral home in your area we are aware of. Or here's what you need to tell the funeral home are the things that you need.
So there is a booklet by HMEC on TST. And
Perfect. I can link that here as well.
So I believe it is, you can check with them whether it can be put on your website. So
Sure. Yeah. No, we can link it to the HMEC site. That's not a problem. Yeah.
and HMEC also has a wedding book that is not open like that, but
Yeah.
we are currently we are trying to do under HUA a wedding explanation in English, but then we found out this book is there, so
Yeah.
we're not sure whether we are.
Yeah. We're thinking of doing a Hindu wedding officiation course. We will give people certificates to be able to officiate weddings and full training. We were going to do it this year, but we ran out of volunteer bandwidth, so we'll do it next year with Dr. Srinivasan up in Connecticut, and then Dr. Shikwaki.
What will you do that? I was just distracted.
So Hindu wedding officiation. So they will give full training. Here's the rituals, here are the mantras, here the explanation, here are all the other things you need to think about while officiating a wedding, and here's how you can get certified and so on. Is that your book?
No, this
Can't
is
see that
by HMEC also.
HMEC book. Okay, nice. Yeah.
And,
So we want to actually train people and certify them, because right now there's a need, but it's not serviced.
You are from Bay Area, Gaurav, if I remember.
I'm in the Bay Area, yes.
In the Bay Area. Do the hospitals already have one of the Hindu chaplain?
Stanford is Stanford, and a couple of other hospitals do. Yeah.
Already.
and they're paid full time.
Stanford, they're all volunteers right now at Stanford. The Hindu chaplains, because there's no supply, but they have paid chaplains, just not Hindu ones. Because
now-
there's no supply.
Now, we have had a chaplain at Duke for now almost 10 years, I think. He's
Yeah.
the third chaplain.
Does she cover the hospitals too, or is it only for the students?
Well, occasionally, I think, if I'm not mistaken, occasionally they're called by Duke Hospital. But
I mean, what amazes me, one of my patients recently went to a local hospital, 3 hours in the emergency room. The insurance company paid to the hospital $20,000 and to the emergency room physician $3,000. So after that amount, if the hospitals cannot support a chaplaincy at the pace, it's somewhat reasonable. It is amazing to me how the system works there. But
so my question is that the current chaplains, and maybe I think 12 or so in universities, if I'm not mistaken, they also have an association of
NACA.
chaplains.
Yeah,
Are you connected with them?
Yeah, NACA is a close partner. So now North America Hindu Chaplains Association. So yeah, we are good friends. We
But
have a very close partnership.
In my mind, what we need to do is have some sort of a push to get more universities to create chaplains position. I think, of course, hospitals are needed as described, but universities very badly need the chaplains.
Yeah, and again, we want to also do this e-chaplaincy thing with universities, because above a certain size, they should have a physical Hindu chaplain. But below that size, we're saying, look, you should be able to, we'll give you a number, go tell it to your Hindu students, they can call us and we will talk to them, or we'll keep open hours and so on and help. To sum up, we're well on our way to our goal of 108 Hindu interreligious chaplains worldwide. You're seeing the photos on the screen of 15 of the first 15, and we expect to be at the 30% mark this year. We're grateful to the Motwani Jadeja Foundation for their first set of fellowships. We're able to fund a part of the tuition for everyone that's joining the pathway, and as we continue into the future, we expect to get fellowship for all the 108 Hindu interreligious chaplains. In fact, only a couple of weeks ago, I had the good fortune, let me find you the slide, good fortune of attending the graduation of the first Hindu interreligious chaplain at Graduate Theological Union at Berkeley in California. And as you can see, she's graduating with people from other religions and other faiths. And we're very proud of her achievements, and we're looking forward to more of you joining this pathway and becoming Hindu interreligious chaplains serving the society worldwide. Namaskar, and look forward to hearing from you.